Bradley Beal hopefully returning in the near future, what percentage of the Suns' problems does he fix by being back, in your opinion?
40 to 45. I think he helps.
I mean, that's pretty solid.
I think he helps with the ball handling. We saw last night, KD getting involved in that helped immensely. I think the more you can give Devin Booker support in that situation, the better off this team's going to be as a whole. So I think it helps there, and I think it helps in the swag, like Flex said. If he comes in and he's that guy that's trying put back dunks and giving you a little athleticism that we know he can do, that we saw in Washington, I think he fixes 40 to 45% of it. He's not changing the defensive fortunes, but I think he helps in that way.
I'm a little higher. I think it fixes about 70 to 75%. No, and I'm going to tell you why.
Damn.
For all the reasons that we talked about, swag, energy, just overall good feeling around the team. I think he helps get Book off the ball a little bit more. I think he helps with the ball handling. And I just gotta frame it this way, though. If we're getting the Brad Beal that we know he can be, the Brad Beal with some bounce, the Brad Beal with some shake to his game, the Brad Beal that just 2 years ago came off a 30-point scoring season in the NBA. If we get that Brad Beal, that guy's a difference maker. And it's just look to Memphis. Look to Memphis. That team was atrocious. They add one Ja Morant. They go on a 4-game win streak. I think Brad Beal fixes about 70 to 75% of the problems, and then we slowly, gradually fix the rest as we get more chemistry and continuity.
Ooh, man.
Talk to me, dog.
Lindsay, why don't you go next?
Okay, so I'm a little bit in between Espo and Flex, and I have a thought I want to run by you guys. So in the last 2 games, we've seen Josh Okogie and Jordan Goodwin play less and less, right?
Yep.
And I'm wondering, are they leaning into we need to just be an offensive team and get decent enough defense of the guys who are out there who can play good offense and not lean on Josh Okogie or Jordan Goodwin to be like a point of attack defender or something of that sort? And if Bradley Beal comes back and they still lean far enough into that, does it in an essence kind of fix a lot more? Because like Flex was saying earlier in the season, your offense basically is your defense.
Yep.
Are they leaning that way already? Slightly?
I don't think that they're leaning that way. I think this is what it is with Josh Okogie and Jordan Goodwin. They have been so abysmal on the offensive side of the ball that it doesn't counteract how good they have been defensively, because they have not been able to make quite the impact on the defensive side as they once did earlier in the season. And because of that, you have to measure out, like, okay, how effective is said player? And I think they've opted to go with other guys because they've been kind of neutral on both sides or slightly better on one side than the other, but not so egregiously lopsided that you couldn't justify not playing them. So that's why I think J.O. and Goodwin have kind of found themselves on the outside looking in more often than not of late.
Right. So maybe it's not by choice necessarily. It's out of necessity.
Yeah.
But still, either which way, does it help?
I can't remember the last time Josh Okogie hit a wide open jumper.
I feel you.
That's the key. If you can't connect when you're wide open, and we talked about it from the beginning of the year, you can't have Josh Okogie on the court. Same with Jordan Goodwin, because it renders everything else ineffective on offense. So yeah, you will sacrifice some defense if they can't hit any of those shots, because if you don't have an offense that's working, their defense isn't going to matter enough.
So let's talk about this. Linz, you make a great point. And me and Saul we were talking a lot about this watching the game yesterday. That Houston team is the number 2 defense in basketball, okay? And without Bradley Beal, they went in there and put up 130, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there was a point of the game where the Suns were up 15, 18, 20. And as me and Saul are watching, I kept saying, just give them 2s. Guard the 3 line and give them 2s. Because at that point, when you're down 15, you ain't getting back shooting 2-point jumpers for Houston. And who's one of the best mid-range teams in basketball? The Phoenix Suns. So when you're up 15, now you go and be who you are. Yeah. So I feel like the Suns right now, there is an argument that their offense is their best defense because it puts the team in desperation mode, the opponent, becomes desperate. They get out of their sets and they start saying, there's no way we're going to come back and beat this team unless we start shooting threes, ill-advised threes, desperate pressure threes. We can't go 2 for 2 with them. We can't go jump shot for jump shot because they got Kevin Durant and they got Devin Booker, and those are two of the best in the world. And by the way, when Brad Beal comes back, he's pretty damn good in the mid-range too. So I think that's the recipe for success, is go out there, throw the dogs out there, let them get a lead, and then apply the pressure by what you can do offensively.
All right.
Personally, that's what I think.
So what percentage were you at?
I don't know. You said 70.
I said 75. He said
40, so I'll say 58.
Oh, man, nice number.
Okay.
58.
How about that?
All right. So I'm the lowest of the group.
Oh, wow.
But you all know how big I am on Bradley Beal. I think initially it's going to be more of like 20%. Initially.
Okay.
Because I just think that he's going to have to work himself back up to find that bounce again, that confidence again, not being hesitant, all that stuff, right? And then also the chemistry issues, like trying to fit another new guy back into this roster after, so many days out. So I think there's going to be a little bit of an adjustment period. I think at its peak, we're looking at about 50%. I think at its peak, it's about 50% because Bradley Beal isn't going to solve the sloppy ball handling from time to time from all the other players, the lackadaisical passing, the turnover. They still had 19 turnovers last night.
Yeah.
Bradley Beal coming back is going to marginally help that just a little bit. But the bad tendencies that a lot of these players have had or shown this year aren't going to be magically fixed because Bradley Beal's in the lineup, right? So that's number one. And defensively, I think that's also their Achilles heel right now, is they have not been able to find that connectivity on defense. And I'm not so sure Bradley Beal coming into that lineup. Bradley Beal is an okay defender. Yeah, he's not a world beater. He's not a Jordan Goodwin type of defender. He's all right.
Is he more vocal though when he's on the court than others? Maybe?
I don't know. I can't hear him.
I mean, because that could potentially play into
it could, but
bit.
he's never been known as a defensive connector. So I hesitate to think that he's going to have the only way Bradley Beal goes above to that 75, 80% in terms of impact is if Bradley Beal goes back to like 2018 where he was averaging like 35 a game. Like that's the only way this changes. And I don't see that happening. I think Bradley Beal coming back, if he averages 25 a game, shit. You won this trade by a million miles,
so
right?
let's talk about. Go ahead.
But I just don't see his impact being that significant to where everything just flips.
Okay. So I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'm gonna go ahead and say in the time that Brad has played, minus that if you take away the game where he just started and sprained the ankle, he's averaging like 21. He's averaging like 21 and 4, right? In a little bit of time that he's played, and he hasn't been healthy. So to think that Brad can't average that 25 that you're talking about, I don't know that we're in that. I don't know that that's not possible.
I didn't say he couldn't.
No.
I said 35 was like that 35, would that 35 would take it to the 75, 80%.
Here's what I will say about Brad. We can, the pulse of this team. We talked about it. I think we stumbled on something yesterday when we talked about Grayson Allen and Eric Gordon. Consensus 25 shots per game from the two of them. Is starting to look like a legitimate plan to get this offense going. And so I think it's safe to say that if you go into a game and you get 20 points from Eric Gordon and Brad Beal, will you take it?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, Eric Gordon and Grayson Allen. If I tell you Grayson and combined, they're going to give you 20 points. Grayson Allen and Eric Gordon, you'll take it, right?
Yeah, I'll take it.
That's where I think the difference is, because I think Brad by himself does that. I think Brad comes in and says, hey, Eric and Grayson, I'm going to take that pressure off you. I can give you 20 a game. And now everything y'all do is gravy on a mashed potato. And so I think that's the difference with Brad. And that's why I think I lean to a 70 to 75%.
I want to agree with you. I really do. Because I want this team to succeed very, very much. However, I just don't think that they have the offensive system in place to be able to maximize everybody at the potential that you hope that they could reach. I think if you had a guy, listen, if your offense is going to be your best defense, then you should have got a guy like D'Antoni, to be honest with you. Like you should have got an offensive guru that knows how to utilize these guys in different ways, different spaces, different playing styles. Like, because this slow it down, walk it up bullshit ain't it. It ain't it. Not with these three dudes.
No,
You got to get out and run and give them as many opportunities as possible. That's how you get your rhythm and your flow. But you walking this shit up like you're the damn Nuggets and you got Jokic just kind of surveying at 7 foot tall. Like, that ain't happening. Book isn't doing that. Neither is Beal. KD did an admirable job last night, but he doesn't do that on a night-to-night basis. So I don't like their offensive. I don't like their offense at all.
It's
Like
still-
me personally.
It's
I
still
agree.
the Terry Porter. I will stand by this. This is still the Terry Porter with 7 seconds or less Suns.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense, and I still think we may be headed for a coaching change, whether it's in the near term here, or in the off season, because it doesn't make sense that way.